All right, so moving on now. Finally, at long last, I'm going to talk about Raised by Wolves. So,
Right.
as this wrapped up a couple weeks ago, I don't want to stay too long on it. Um, but before I begin, though, Ricardo, have you seen or heard anything about Raised by Wolves? Any
Yes, I have.
reviews? Anything?
I watched it out as well.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
Well,
I give it
cool. Yeah,
I give it a run through. Well, you
yeah,
could
yeah.
start talk about it.
Yeah.
I have my opinions. And
I,
anyway, go
I
ahead.
would love to hear them. All
Sure.
right, so I'll just do the synopsis. You could help me out, right?
Yeah.
If anything. All right, so it centers on two androids, right? Male and female. They call themselves father and mother, right?
Right.
So what happened is that the Earth was destroyed in this great war. It
Right.
was between two factions. So basically, we have the group that they call the atheists, and we
Right.
have this other group who they more or less call well, their version of God is Soul, right? SOL.
Right. Yeah.
And there was this
They call
war.
them Mithrians.
Yeah, the
Myth-
Mithrians, or whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Mithric.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Okay.
all right. So
Sorry.
yeah. So well, yeah. Right. So you kind of we kind of hint at why it's called Raised by Wolves, because actually it's a pretty clever title. If you know who Mithric is, it's the origin of it's a Roman mythology.
Okay.
Right.
I did not know that actually.
Yeah, if you know Roman mythology, Romulus and Remus were raised by a wolf, right? A wolf was their mother.
Yes. Yes, they were
That's
right.
that's where it come from. I'll try to
Sorry,
figure
sorry,
out what
sorry.
he raised wolves.
Mind blown right now. Mine
Yeah,
is
so
blown. I
that
really didn't know
yeah,
that.
it's anyway, you can go ahead because I'll just mention go ahead because I'll
Yeah,
mention
please.
why this yeah yeah
Okay.
there's a lot of
Well,
symbolism in this.
yeah. There's a lot of symbolism.
Yeah,
So like I said, I'd just love to hear your thoughts because it's
yeah,
just
go ahead,
it's
yeah.
stuff that I missed out, right? But anyway,
Mm.
so what happens is that the mother, or at least the mother android,
Right,
is known as a necromancer, right? So
right,
she is using the war. She has really frighteningly
yeah,
powerful powers, basically, right? She could really
yeah,
like destroy people, like really graphic and whatnot, right? So essentially, what happens is that they find themselves on this really like deserted planet, right? Or at least
yeah,
what we see thus far, it's deserted, right?
yeah,
Along in the ship, they have these human embryos, right? So she is tasked basically, well, to give birth to said embryos and more or
right.
less restart humanity, right? So she has this motherly instinct. I mean, it's wired into her. And what I interpreted the whole wolf's part is that essentially she acts like, like a mother wolf, basically. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but I
She
see
will step in and she will just kill anything that gets in the way
yeah,
of her kids.
yeah, that is the symbolism there. I mean, that is it.
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah. The father is, well, resourceful. Oh, and he's actually
right,
like I like the fact that mother is white, father is black. Basically, that
right,
was interesting. Right.
yeah,
But yeah, the father is resourceful. There's like a nice little bit of character development where he's always cracking these knock jokes. You know what I mean?
right,
And
yeah,
yeah, basically both characters trying to understand what it means to be human, right? Whilst raising these kids. What happens now is that this well, some members of the Mitr it's Mitr sorry Mitric, right, well, of
yeah,
the
yeah,
right, show up, right. One of them just so happens to be Marcus, right, played by Travis Fimmel. We don't really know much about him until like the
right,
second
right,
episode, right.
right,
And she now sees them as a threat. She actually goes up to their mothership, which is called the Ark, and basically like nearly wipes out everyone, right? Except for some kids who survive, right? Sorry, who are there, and she brings them back now, and she more or less she becomes the den mother to those kids now.
right,
And she's telling them, you know what I mean, forget about soul, we not about that kind of thing.
yeah,
You know what I mean, it's all about me. I'm gonna protect you, right? And of course, well, Marcus now and his wife, are trying to, well, basically their son, quote unquote, is
Right.
one of the kids that were kidnapped, right? So they head down to the planet to try and rescue him. But there's also this big structure that may be connected to soul, and
Right.
then Max has this god complex later on in the story.
Right.
So he's like he's
Eh,
this,
eh,
chosen prophet and all that kind of stuff. But
right.
what it's in a nutshell, what really is about is that at first you think it's about these androids being this big threat and whatnot, right? But later on you realize it's the humans. But the mother character in particular that the show zeroes in a lot, she learns she learns a lot, sorry, about who she is,
Yeah. Right.
her creator, her purpose for one thing, and it more or less goes beyond the realm of, well, science and religion. And I'll stop
Right.
right
Right.
there.
Yeah.
So, Ricardo, Raised by Wolves, way.
I thought this was actually pretty good. It's first things first. Production is excellent across the
It
board. Like
is,
everything is good.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they
So
filmed this in South Africa, though. But
right.
the
Yeah.
spots that it shows, boy,
Yeah.
wow.
So yeah. So not only cinematography is excellent. Cinematography is excellent. Special effects is pretty good. Costumes and set design brilliant. Acting, everybody was great.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially
yeah, yeah.
especially my boy Father. I thought Father was great.
Oh, that was
Um.
great. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
he literally acted the way a male android, a male robot, I should say,
Yeah. Yeah.
would
Really. You
act.
really
Like
get a
everything,
yeah.
mannerisms, face, everything. It's just like, yeah,
And mother,
it's
and I
great.
thought mother had a pretty good arc. She was great too. I can't help but think that Tilda Swinton was supposed to play this role.
Oh, right, right. Because
Right,
the actress Amanda Cullen who plays her, she's
right,
very very slender.
right,
She has short hair basically. You know what I
right.
mean? So yeah, I get where you come from.
Yeah, you know. But I thought just it works really well in terms of two things. This a lot of the symbology and you know that whole just interpretation stuff works really well, and then it has really strong character work, right? Great symbolism and aesthetic choices in terms of like what happening, what is referring to, strong themes and ideas, and then they fit that into the character work very very well. It's
Yes.
sewn in quite well, and they what they do really well is they have every character, they give every character a hang up, in terms of why it is you would be religious, why it is you would not be religious, why it is you would be atheistic, why you would not be atheistic, why you would understand why an atheist might be proclivity towards religion and vice versa. Why it is a religious person might reject the religion. And they kind of cover with a nice network of characters to do this, right? And
Yeah.
they get to a lot of like gender, feminism stuff as well with that, right?
Yes. Yes.
Um, and I just thought this was pretty good. It does that well. That clash between people having to basically address the problem of suffering or the problem of evil, right? You know, if you're non-religious, why does you should care or give a shit about anything? If you are religious, how do you address the idea of suffering or effectively what is known as the problem of evil, right? And they do that so well with every character. Like this, you have one of the side characters who's the kid. She was pregnant, but you find out why and how, and that's a
Yes.
pretty great arc involving a certain character. Um,
That would be Tempest, right? Yeah,
Tempest, yes,
Tempest. Yeah.
right, yeah,
Who at first I was a little iffy on the performance, but the more
right,
I saw, I was like, all right, I get why she's so
yeah,
resentful at times. Same
yeah,
thing I
yeah,
would
yeah,
say with Campion, who is like
right.
the last
I can,
kid from the Human Emperors. Like at first I
yeah,
wasn't really buying the
yeah.
the
So,
stuck up
right,
Britishness about him, but
I
it
will.
worked.
Right, I'll say, yeah, that's what I'll think. I felt it was a bit kind of obtuse and kind of weak for me in the beginning, and it wasn't really pulling me in until about episode four or so, and then I started like it started building, and I didn't love the ending, but it was still pretty good. Like if you know what the symbolism of everything involved, what you're watching, and trying to like understand some kind of history and mythology, because what the author, I forget the author's name because I only know it as we boy director Ridley Scott. No,
Yeah, yeah,
but I forget
Ridley
who the
Scott.
guy. I forget. It escapes me who wrote it. But what they did really
Um,
well.
okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
one second. Let me see if I find it. I
Right.
am not seeing the author though.
It's slipping my mind. But his name was in one of the credits. I forget.
Okay, okay.
Um, but I felt what they did really really well is connecting that that all of those symbology mythology stuff. There's a lot of biblical stuff in this, a lot of Roman history, this type of history, this type of history, this type of mythology. That and it all of it like you can know what to look for. And but
Yeah.
if you're walking blind, you'll still enjoy this. Like so, both it could cater to big myth nerds like me, who love that stuff and know what to see, or just have like just straight up just general symbology that is work in film. Like it have this a big final shot that just looks straight up like a sperm entering an egg, but it looks like
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but you know
Very,
what
very,
it
very
is,
2001. Very
right?
2001. I find. Yeah.
And right, so and I make the joke that this is acid Westworld now. That's the joke, right? Um, why it works is that it feels like those it had those real weird 70s surrealistic sci-fis, but
Yes.
they
Yes. Yes. Good. Good. Yeah.
they're kind of
Like
pretentious and kind of go ahead.
Logan's Run. Like Logan's Run.
Something like Zardoz or something like
Stardust. Yes.
right.
Yeah.
It have all these weird big ideas, but they clearly don't have the budget or the actual skill or ability to pull it off. But this is like, what if you really give great talent, the actual technology, the money, and the talent and the wherewithal, actors and whatnot to pull it off, and they nail it. They kind of nailed it. And I thought this was really really excellent. They just handle the characterization really well in terms of concept. Make a sci-fi, you have a premise, you set it up, you understand why is this person acting this way, who good, who bad. It'll answer every question, but we hopefully it'll have a season 2 to address most of that, because it kind of end on a cliffhanger, right? Kind of, right? With
Yeah. Yeah.
basically,
Kind of.
well, basically Quetzalcoatl, right? That's basically what's going on there, right?
Yeah.
If it who that is, right? Uh and I thought it just really really did its material well, right? Everybody worked in terms of the characterization. The two atheist figures, I thought they were great. The where they had to, well, they have a interesting arc. I don't know if to spoil it with where
Oh,
you mentioned.
Marcus and
Yeah,
Sue.
you mentioned Marcus, but that is in quotes, right?
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
what they do with, I liked what they did with him, and then but I like what they did with the wife as well. She's great.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
what her arc was about and why she was the way she was. Again, that's another like real common thing in for people like that, right? That make a lot of sense, like why she would be the way she was.
Yeah.
Um,
I get what you mean. I do understand where
yeah,
she was coming from. Trip. Yeah.
yeah. Like what they do with her and the whole arc when you find out. Well, you kind of knew, but then her arc comes full circle with, and she has a great conversation with Mother at the end. I thought that was pretty good. I think that was like episode 9, I think. Um, and I thought all of this was pretty good for what it was. I forget the boy's name. Who's his son?
Or
He
Paul. Paul.
Paul, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He was pretty good too. And again, if you're looking into your symbolism, who he's supposed to be, like who he might be lined up to in terms of characterization, it actually make a lot of sense why he was making those decisions. It balances thematic and actual characterization very well. So logically, it works. Like if you're just looking at this from a raw logical standpoint of why a character would be behaving or speaking a certain way or acting a certain way, it makes sense. But then also thematically or historically or wherever it is the allegory is or the reference point is, that also works as well. It lines up very, very well. And it's really excellent writing in that way. I don't think I have much else to say unless we're gonna just go into like this a long discussion about why it works. But it have all these great shots, symbolic moments, symbolism here. Mother's arc when she was inside the virtual realm thing that was
Yeah.
working.
Mm.
All the religious people, all of their stuff was great. Felt the Matrix people and what was going on. The action is pretty good. A lot of good little shootouts.
Yeah.
As I say,
It,
and
it,
it's a
it
very
could get kind of gory at times, but it
yeah
never goes overboard. Though I would say that
right.
much. Yeah.
But it had some like good westerny stuff because again they on this planet. I think it's Kepler 22b, which is a real planet, but um I'm not sure if it's implied that the planet was like uninhabitable, not yet
Yeah.
uninhabitable,
Well,
uninhabitable, but it had some geoengineering that went down to make sure that it became inhabitable later, because we find out something about a certain group of people. Well,
mm-hmm.
it's kind of, I make a spoiler there, but certain group, and we're not
Yeah.
sure,
Certain group. Mhm.
right? And we're not sure what was going on with them because the history is a lot more interesting than we thought it was. Um, and they're connected to the final big thing that was revealed at the end.
Yeah.
Um, so I was like, okay, so something going on there, what going on? And then they didn't answer all the questions. I wanted them to answer a couple more questions in terms of who was talking to who and why, and who gave who what revelation and information in an important
Yeah,
point.
that I wish that they revealed, because just kind of
Right.
left it like, oh
That
well,
left
maybe it's this, so maybe
right,
it's that,
right, right. So I thought they would do that, and the ending, I get what it was going for, but again, because it's a cliffhanger kind of ending, I could excuse it. That's perfectly fine in my opinion. I thought this was excellent across the board. It's not one of those things in sci-fi that really pulls me in, because it just they pull so many different ideas and concepts to come together in a sci-fi. It have this stuff, all of that stuff, this history, that history, and but ultimately, because it kept it to the character stuff, it worked. Yeah, just gonna give him a rating quick, and you could
yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. Give it, and then I'll
Yeah,
share my
I
thoughts on.
I give this in my head. I was like, yeah. At first, I was like a 8 out of 10. But when I think about it and thinking about what went into this production and whatnot, yeah, I'll say a easy 9 out of 10. This was excellent for me.
Right, right,
Um,
right.
really, really smart writing, and wide again. They stuck to the character stuff. The characters work. Nothing felt too inconsistent or stupid or out of the blue. I mean, I sure have a couple problems here or there that I could probably my brain will probably come up with in as I say fridge logic. But I really enjoyed this for what it was. I didn't feel like I was binging it. I was paying attention to it for most of it. It didn't feel too slow for me. It had some little parts of drag, but it wasn't so bad. And
Hmm.
ultimately, I liked everybody. Everybody's chemistry worked. Everybody came together really well. Writing and pacing was ultimately solid in that sense. And I can't be mad at this. And yeah, uh, that I quite shocked that a black character died 2 3 times and keep coming back. Like, what's going on, boy?
I
My
know,
boy,
right?
father a lucky boy. But
Yeah,
I
but
thought because
respect the father.
you know, but I thought ultimately, because everybody it had a lot of great, because of the characterization, it comes together so well. The characterization is so strong, that everything else it feels ancillary or not even that important. But all of that stuff also lines up really well as well. As everybody was firing on all cylinders for this. So that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really can't be mad at this. This was pretty good.
All right. Well, you know what I mean? I am so glad that you checked it out. Like, I thought I had to come up with my non-sci-fi TV show,
Right.
you know, binged
Right.
mind to kind of tell you, yo, it's really good. You should check it out, though. You know what I mean? But
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm really, really glad that you enjoyed it. For me, I would say that just similar to Lovecraft Country, which you talked about last week.
Right. Right.
This is one of the most ambitious shows I've seen
Yeah.
all year. It is so ambitious. It's kind of frightening actually. Like, it's just amazing that like they would actually greenlight a show like this. Cause like I said,
Yeah.
this feels like something that would have come out in the 70s, where they had all these really like profound ideas, and
Yeah.
yeah, they didn't have the budget, so this came off kind of campy, right? But
Right.
yeah, you know what I mean, the production value works though, and just
Yes.
everything has a lot of thought, even right down to the rubber suits them that
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
androids wear. You know what I
It
mean?
feels, yeah, exactly. It feels very retro. A lot of
Yeah,
it
it
felt
does,
very
it does.
retro. I
Even
thought
right
in,
down
in
to
terms
the
of its, yeah,
yeah, even right down to the ship itself, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. This weird
That
shape,
sort of whistle looking
yeah,
ship.
shaped like a whistle, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is very, very much like some 70s, 80s, UFO thing, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But yeah, yeah. And just on the suits again, because I mean, at first when you see them, you kind of laugh at they walk around with this rubber suit on, but when something happens to mother physically, it's like, oh,
yeah.
okay, 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 all right, right, right. Good thing that you brought up Ridley Scott, because yeah, he also worked on this. He actually directed the first 2 episodes very well. His
Right,
son Luke Scott
right,
actually
yeah, right.
worked on
Luke
like
Scott
a
did the
few episodes as well.
right. Okay,
Yeah. And I mean, shout out to Luke Scott, man. I mean, man, do anything, man. Following your dad's
yeah,
footsteps. I mean, yeah, keep doing your thing, man. But in terms of like really Scott, it really does it does draw inspiration from, well, the stuff that he's worked on before.
right,
Blade Runner, in terms of the whole existential, nature of life and what it means
right.
to be human and a
Robots. Yeah,
machine and robots and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
It's there. And it's there in a very like profound and very intelligent way.
Yeah.
Like the way how
What one?
they go on. Right?
No, one of the things work well also is because of the world building. Like I was not too impressed with the world building at first, but when the characters, because of how the dialogue is so good and particularly well written, I mean it's a little hokey, but it makes sense why they would be like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very. I am a robot. I must talk like this, but
Right,
it's
right.
way
But
more
yeah,
intelligent in the way how I describe it. Way more
exactly
intelligent.
right. Yeah. But when they started having conversations with each other and bouncing off each other, you understand that it is a lot of time passed with this stuff. Like it really felt like a world lived in, and they
Yes.
kind of run past like all of these arguments about why could certain characters would be prejudiced in this way and that way versus this type of thinking and how you should think about it, especially with the religiosity of it, and they make that work really well. How characters would think about each other, and you really get a sense of our world lived in.
Yes, indeed.
Especially the Matrix themselves now. So
Yeah.
that really worked particularly well, I thought. Yeah, go ahead.
Mhm. And I love the comparison between well, mother and father,
Yeah,
and Caleb and Mary. That's the real names that all say. That's
right.
the comparison between those two relationships, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, at first I was a little like little iffy about Caleb's transformation throughout the show, basically, because yeah,
right.
like he starts off kind of normal, and even right down to how he assumes a different personality. That's all I'll say. I was a little iffy at first, but then I kind of
Right,
I got into what's going on. I was like, yeah, he was kind of put into this war, and if there's an option for him to get out of it, this is what he took, right? But to see
right,
how it affects his relationship well with his wife and his quote unquote son, right? So
right.
I really really dug that. But this like Caleb's turn to evil, like kind of maniacal in
Right.
a way though. I was a little like
Yeah, so that's a
kinda alright,
that's the
but
lead. Here's the thing, because
alright,
well,
he's a little
oh
too
yeah,
over the top. Alright,
right.
dial it back a
The
little
thing
bit.
with that, yeah, the thing with that is that I'll say because it wasn't just him, because someone else had something like that. Again, we'll kind of spoil it if we say it is. I mean, it kind of done a while now, so I suppose it's not really a spoiler. But Paul, also has something like that happen to him.
Yes.
Uh, I thought that worked as well. So clearly have an answer to to that question somewhere in the future, because it's like
Right.
clearly some talking to them, right? Like who they think is Saul might be ultimately really we ain't sure what's going on. But then the big reveal at the end, I felt, oh shit, it might be just that set of people as well might be doing it, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we will see, and I actually thought like his arc was going to end, but it's like, well, no,
Oh
we're actually
yeah,
gonna see more of him in the next season. So I was like,
yeah,
well, okay, well, at least they will answer more things.
right.
I also dug the fact that I also love how the show was balanced in terms of how it represented science and
Right.
religion, right? It never, well, it may show one side to be bad or self-centered, right? But it
Yeah,
it kind of just shows both sides, more or less
yeah,
fairly, right? So
yeah,
it's like the show itself, and that's what I love about the show here. The show is not kind of telling you, oh, religion is a bunch of hokey, and you shouldn't care
right.
because they have a bunch of bad people in church, blah blah. No, no, it leaves it up to the audience to kind of decide, what they believe in, right?
Yeah,
And in terms of just the premise, right? Well, how they balance those two things. It feels literally like how science and religion will play out in the future.
yeah, yeah,
Like I
yeah.
could literally buy
I,
into this
yeah.
happening like
Because
I don't know,
at
centuries in the
first,
future. Like, yeah, this
yeah,
is exactly how the church will be. This is exactly
yeah.
how scientists will be. I could buy into all that.
I was saying, well, again, they still have okay. So there's a character that we learn about who thing was named after. What do they call him? Oh gosh, the boy.
Or campion.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But we know who Campion was named after,
Hmm.
right? We see his namesake in the storyline. And so that is a whole thing by itself. Because one couple of questions is like, well, how come is this one religion seem to be the situation? Why is it
Yes.
built out like that? And it's such a that's a big 70s sci-fi thing, right? So that's why it didn't really bother me too much. But
Hmm.
I hope again, because hopefully we'll get in a season two. I really hope this not getting cancelled.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It shouldn't.
if
It shouldn't.
yeah, I want to see what they'll do, with that, like explaining what's going on now.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So whatever, we'll see.
Right. Just a few more things before I get to reading, right? I
Sure.
also love how at first you're thinking, okay, well, Mother is a threat because look at how her character changes within the first half of the season, right? To some terrifying levels, I was say, right? But then in the second half, it's like, oh well, no, Caleb is the one. He's like the big antagonist in the film. So I just love how the show goes back and forth. It kind of like Game of Thrones. I mean, sorry to throw this out here, but yeah, it has a sort of Game of Thrones style of characterization where, yeah, you
Yeah.
can point to this person and say he's a bad guy, but there's a lot of characterization in that character, so you could understand, even if it's the wrong thing, why he or she would do that, right? The child actors, a little
Yeah,
iffy with them because it's child actors, but I thought that, yeah, they did a great job.
pretty good. Yeah,
Even
pretty
right
good.
down to Campion, who was a little iffy with at first because he was just doing that whole, you know what I mean, father, mother, you know
Yeah,
what I mean, that
right,
that
right.
British accent thing. But
Yeah,
given who he is and what he went through with his siblings, without spoiling anything, and how he looks at his parents now, especially when more humans came in, worked for me.
yeah,
And it just in terms of how he was wrestling with, I mean, what my parents taught me and what these people telling me about soul, and I don't believe in soul. All these things made sense. Paul, um, took a while to get. Took a while for me to get into because of how mysterious he was, and there's this thing
yeah,
with him walking around with this mouse. Well, we see where you get the
right,
mouse from now. And
right,
he sees things that other people don't, and it just
right.
adds a little mystery
Right,
to,
right.
to
And
what's
they,
going
they,
on
they
in the
get
story.
in, yeah, they get into an interesting thing about him being a quote unquote child of prophecy because of this blah 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 blah. And a lot of that was interesting in the context of the storyline. Because it's like, oh, it not true, but because of this thing, or because other characters know what's going on, it is true. But it's still not true. Like, that feedback of who believes and why. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. Right. So what was interesting here is that you're thinking, oh, it's HBO, even though it's off of HBO Max. So you think it's just gonna be a hard R and it's just gonna be,
Right,
sex and violence, stuff like that. There actually isn't that much like explicit content in it.
right,
But even right down to language, too, like there's like little to no like graphic language in it, right? Which
right.
is
Yeah,
amazing actually by HBO standards, right?
right.
But
I mean,
still,
I didn't expect it because it's like it's the future. So like whatever they'll
yeah, yeah,
replace it with some future curse with if anything. Yeah,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So it kind of harkens back to that sort of old school style of like sci-fi storytelling. And yeah, it have a lot of moments where it's like, yeah, you know what I mean, like case in point, this medical android that they run into and the way how he talks, that's
Right,
very Star Trek, you know what I mean? And
right,
just for them to just be like, okay, we're gonna have this archetype be in this, but he's gonna make sense in the story. I really, really dug that. So yeah, they're drawing a lot from classic sci-fi sci-fi stories and TV shows now, which I really appreciated. You're right though, the production design is excellent though. Just the choices that they pick in terms of where to shoot this to
yeah,
film this story. These desolate wastelands, these deserts, even right down to just how everything looks when the temperature drops or where the
yeah,
weather changes. It just gives it this really big epic feel, right? Speaking of epic sorry, I really dug the music for this as well. Very
yeah.
cinematic, very 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 grandiose, I would say. The theme song in particular, that
Right,
is some haunting that's a what that's theme song, but it
yeah,
sticks with you, do. And really dug the visuals for it, where, don't spoil anything, it's essentially like finding the beauty in destruction and death
right,
and
yeah,
hopelessness, right? Very, post-apocalyptic existential stuff, right? Last things last. The ending, wow.
yeah.
Left me with a lot of questions though, but there
Right.
are a few standout moments. Case in point involving Mother, which was like legit some horrific stuff.
Yeah.
But what I would say with
I thought it was getting some actual Ridley Scott, classic
yes, like
references
some
with that.
alien stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But what we'll see without spoiling it is that it kind of, especially when you reveal near the end, it's very much Genesis, right?
Yeah.
If you want to talk biblical, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
basically Genesis, and it's just kind of like us kind of seeing that, okay, well, our two leads basically are, well, dot 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 dot, right? So
Right. 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 Right.
that's more or less their point in this world, and this is why the show touches so much on religion. 'Cause it's like, to me, how I saw it, this is like everything sort of reset, but instead of
Yeah.
humans, it's androids. But
Right.
the trying to understand humanity and
Yeah.
need
But
humans to understand it.
but they,
And yeah,
yeah, but they also fit into a lot of other stuff. Like, Mother was for a little point, Robo Mary, right? They try to do this and they explain why, and it's a lot of lineup stuff.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it didn't feel too. over determined, right? It didn't feel too much, and they're just trying to throw everything, at the wall to make it stick. No, it was well done for what it was. I can't be,
It was.
yeah,
Yeah. So overall, while I do feel that, like for me, this is a thinking man sci-fi, right? This is one you have to go in and really like think about what's going on, right? I
right,
did find myself thinking a little too much, like overthinking what's going on, kind of like, okay, what's the point? I'm not getting it. Afraid like if I don't get it, I'll hate the show.
nah,
You know what I mean?
nah, yeah,
But
yeah,
it just has so much other things going on. So I'm not saying you can just kind of shut your brain off and just watch it and enjoy it, but there's so much going on intellectually, visually, that it will keep you engaged.
yeah,
Yes, pacing is a little iffy at times,
right,
but I do love how these episodes run. Like they're not overly long, they're not too short or whatnot. And there's just so much that goes on each and every episode that it will leave you thinking. And yeah, this is one for me. I'm going to be thinking about hopefully for years to come. I'm really would love to see a second season of this. There needs to be one. If they cancel this, oh gosh, please don't. Like I say, this is one of the most ambitious shows I've seen that you'll see all year. Like you know what I mean? Like I am still like baffled at how this show like even came to be, right?
yeah,
But you think, yeah, this is some kind of 70s stuff, but no, it's way more advanced than that, right? But yeah, rating wise, I'm gonna give this a decent, a strong 4 to 5, man. I
yeah,
do recommend checking it out. Go in with an open mind, please. Don't go in expecting this thing to be overly reliant on action and blood and violence because
right,
it's
yeah,
HBO. But at the same time, because they talk about religion, don't think this is all, you know, anti-religious, just being
right,
shoved down the throat. It's just really like how I see it. Like this is how the future I would see
yeah,
how things would play out. But it kind of just leaves it up there for you to be like, all right, what do you choose? What do you believe? And
yeah,
just leaves it to the audience because the show is very smart to trust its audience to figure it out for themselves. But I'm with you, Ricardo. There needs to be a season 2 for this for sure. But if you're into well, sorry, I should say intellect. If you're into very smart, very well told and well filmed sci-fi, yeah, definitely check out Raised by Wolves, man.
right,
All right, so sticking with streaming for a little bit more, let's go to Blood of Zeus, by.
right. So we go from Roman mythology to Greek mythology.
Yep.
Uh,
This is well. I want you to do the synopsis for this if you don't mind.
right.
This
So
is from Powerhouse Animation Studios. This is all well, pretty much. The last series that they made was the excellent Castlevania,
right.
which we've reviewed. They reviewed all 3 seasons, right? I believe so.
Yeah. We did.
Yeah,
Yeah, loved it. Yeah,
yeah, we pretty much enjoyed it for what it is. Very not groundbreaking, but very daring,
yeah,
very bold, very smart storytelling. Of course, pushing the envelope as far as violence and gore and stuff goes. I mean, it's about
yeah.
vampires, right? But in this case here, it's about Greek gods, right? And just
Right.
off the trailer alone is like, yeah, this is going to be just as bloody as Castlevania. I mean, the title, right? Blood of Zeus.
Okay.
Duh, right? But anyway, what is Blood of Zeus about?
Right. So, well, our demigod du jour this time is Heron. So Heron is a child of Zeus, but you find out pretty early that he was born of a queen. I forget the queen name, but she's an exiled queen because of shenanigans and again Zeus
Oh,
being
the
Zeus.
queen's name is Electra, actually.
Okay, right, cool, right. So, he have a kid. His two children. They had a normal human, and we'll get to him later. And then Heron, who is the son of Zeus, a demigod. And it's just you find out that you have demons who are derived from giants who are derived from titans. um,
Yeah, and
through,
I love
through
how they show it. Like, okay, this is how
right,
it all happened, guys.
right.
Just in case you get confused.
Through the basically the mytho history of the world. Zeus they fight Zeus. Zeus cut the Titans down, then he cut the giants down, and then the giants become it's humans that get corrupted by the giants' bodies. The type of the whole thing, and then that is the whole story. And what happens is that Hephaestus seal away Zeus through Hermes and Hephaestus seal away their souls into this box,
Mm.
and they want
Well,
to
they
kind of
call it
just
a cauldron naturally,
right,
but
right. and they have
technically it's a box,
basically
right?
yeah. So they had to free them. Yeah, it's a box. It's a Pandora's box type thing, right?
Mhm.
Seal the souls in. They want to release them. It's basically the plot to Immortals. Anybody remember that movie? Henry Cavill was about 10 years.
Just to stop for a sec, right? I was thinking about that same show while I was
Exact
watching this. This is
same.
one of the best looking bad movies ever made.
Right,
Like, I'm
exactly.
sorry,
Yeah.
visually it is stunning, right?
Yeah,
Story wise,
it's my boy, it's my boy Tassim Singh, right?
yeah.
Right. So
I
you're gonna
wanted that
get
show
you're
to
gonna
be good, but
boy,
it wasn't
I was so
by.
underwhelmed. I remember walking into it thinking, 'cause I remember with that movie, that's a quick aside. I remember that movie, I knew that he was gonna be Superman. So I was like, all right, let me just give us a chance to see what's going on. If he's a good actor, how much screen presence he have. Can he act? What's going on now? Because you're gonna be Superman. This
Right.
this is like 2 years before Man of Steel or whatever. But we
Um,
knew it was
what's it
announced.
though? I think it's like about. I think the movie came out in 2010, and Man
Okay,
Steel came out like what,
okay.
2014? I
2013.
think it is.
2013.
2013, right? Okay,
Right,
okay.
okay, right. Oh, 2010. All right. And I remember I was like, all right, like see it. And it's like, all right, you fell out screen presence, but you can't act. And that's exactly what you get. That's what we get for pretty much the whole career, right? I mean, okay. Um,
Yeah, go on.
yeah, I'll say, okay, so that's basically it. It's just them having to stop them from releasing the Titans back, and it's just war. And I forget the term they use, but it's I think Gigantomachy or Maki, which is a classic kind of old word, basically war with giants.
Yeah,
The old Greek word.
that's the word of the day, guys. That's the word of the
Right,
day.
right. That's it. I was pretty underwhelmed with this, mostly because the pacing is pretty bad. Um, I felt
Wow, well. I think we're gonna fight for this one, but
right.
what one? I want
No,
to hear your thoughts. I want to hear
yeah,
your thoughts.
I hated how they reveal information. That's the problem with this. It reveals information in really bad ways. It does a bunch of bad expo dumps, then bring it back to this, and then you learn about this character, then another expo dump, and it's like it's good, and then everything is over this glaring music. Now the music is good. The problem is that it's so misused in this. I felt I couldn't get into it, and
All right.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's good bombastic music, but like it like chill out on the music now. You know how to use it here, right? You could use it there, and you could use it in this and this other way. And I just couldn't get into this. I just thought this was so just kind of clumsy and not particularly well done. And the animation looked good, but felt a little cheap. But it wasn't any more worse than Castlevania. So I don't know why it is I hated the animation in this more than I did Castlevania. But I just couldn't get into this as much as I thought I would have. It's good, but it doesn't do anything interesting with the material. And as I said before, it's basically the Tarsem Singh film just extended out and slightly better written. But I couldn't get into this one as much as I think it's because my palate, gone to such heights with Raised by Wolves. This was so weak in comparison. I think that was the problem. I think if I went in a little clearer, I would have enjoyed this a little more. But that's it.
Aye. Okay. Okay. Well, here's the thing. I enjoyed the show for what it was. Though I did feel like I should have enjoyed this more, or maybe the show itself could have satisfied me a lot more than it did. Like,
Right.
not saying that I went in with expectations high, but I just felt like it could have given me a little bit more oomph for me to be like, yeah, this
It
is top
was
10 for me.
you know,
Like, it just
it
feels like
came across.
there was something missing. Either something missing, or it just felt
It
like
came
I don't know,
across.
like it just felt like a light LITE version of what it could have been.
Yeah,
Something, you know what I mean?
it came across a little too self-serious for me. A little, I won't say outright say pretentious, but a little bit. But it's Greek mythology, so it's like it's supposed to be. But then it just plays things so straight and not because I don't think they bring anything new to the table with respect to the material. I couldn't get into it now because it
Okay,
just
well, I understand that, and I
yeah
have a feeling that for people who's like real, real diehard, Greek mythology fans, yeah,
yeah.
they're gonna
I
come
mean,
out of this like, yeah, but
I'm because I'm not a
uh,
big I'm not a big myth nerd per se, but I
not
at
me,
least you have to
not me.
but you had to mix it up enough for me to get it. Like I know enough to know, all right, this is what this is, and that is that is, and I don't need to do a Google to know what it is. So you had to kind of do something interesting with material, but they don't do anything interesting with it. In my opinion, I don't really care for any of the arcs. None of the arcs too interesting. When you find out the brother is. I was like, all right, that kind of thing, but I kind of call that almost immediately. So it's like, it's for a younger audience. I'm the guy who too old for this, too jaded for this, who could take. I think that is the problem. Unlike something
Right.
like again, because I'm comparing it to Raised by Wolves, which really had layers and material to the material. This was just all right. Well, it's just a straightforward thing in comparison, at least.
Right, right. Well, I understand. And well, oh gosh, you're comparing something complex to something that gonna be
Right,
complex, but
right.
not too complex given what it is, right? But all right, so I just want to just get my issues out of the way before I get to good and then to read it, right? The thing is, well, my issue with it mainly is the material itself, right?
Right.
It's Greek mythology. We've seen
Yeah.
these things portrayed on screen hundreds of times, right?
Yeah.
And for what they were going for, I felt like it was kind of harkening back to 80s, fantasy, epic fantasy and adventure films, right?
Right.
Which is why the score, which I dug, feels so large and life and so bombastic. I was really impressed by the music itself, the composition, everything. The chorals, the choral music that they use here. I mean the strings and how operatic and dramatic everything felt, right? I do agree that it's overused. Like every single scene needs to be so ho, you know what I mean? But
I was saying
but
it's
but,
it
but
it,
not,
it,
not
it
not all of
real.
it is. But it just
I
feels
read it was
like
a bit much.
everything is just so over the top there.
Yeah.
But because they go in for that approach with the music, you think the source material will just be like, well, in this film, in this show here, will be like, okay, well, we go in large in life, we being bombastic. Let's really give the audience what it is we want. And it's only like in the last, like throughout the show, you see those moments, right? But especially like in the last two episodes where the gods go down against the giants, that's where you really got that bombast there. But
Yeah.
leading up to the bombast, though, it was once again I had to use this again. Typical Game of Thrones stuff. Like I
Right.
don't know. I know that's like the term that you use these days when it comes to complex characters who would
Right.
do like really like bad things, but
Right.
there's a reason behind it. So reason being is the character of Seraphim, right? Who is that other son of Electra,
Right.
right? And then like when he comes off, he is just brutal. He is just like this evil SOB, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
this man is look here. And then they try to explain his backstory, which I would like you say, Ricardo, really does rely too much on exposition dumps to be this actually like 2 or 3 episodes. No,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, 2 to 3 episodes actually dedicated basically to flashbacks.
Yeah.
I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, but
I'll tell
piece
you.
it though. I like I get
No. No. Yeah.
understand what
That
they're going for, but
this.
a story had to be told. We keep going back to explain how he get born and how Heron got born and why Zeus do this, and you know what I mean. It just keeps going back a lot though, which I understand, but they spend so much time doing it. It's almost like a chunk of the episode is dedicated to
Right.
explaining why this character is who he is or who she
Yeah.
is. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah.
I
Um.
didn't hate that. That's not the worst thing. Even you need to like you know piece it out and cut it together a little better. I think the editing and
Agreed. Yeah.
another problem I had was the action was kind of underwhelming. It had some good action. It big, but because they didn't do nothing compared to Castlevania, which had some kick-ass but fight sequences, this not so much. It was like, all right, well,
I would admit they kind of cut their way around certain shots. Like
right,
they
right,
didn't leave like they didn't leave the shot itself to run as long as it
right,
should. It's just like one cut, then next cut,
right.
then next cut. Like it's not
I,
overly cut, but it's just not
I
enough
think
for you to really get into. Oh, this is what's going on. You know what I mean? Everything
right.
is it's quick, but a little choppy at times. You know?
Right. And I think one of the problems so is because we're already familiar with these characters or this mythology, they didn't do anything and I keep saying they didn't do anything interesting with it. So I thought they didn't get interested with none of the like what we expect these characters to do because I kind of already see smarter and more interesting versions of these characters and more cooler versions of these characters in like God of War, for example.
Yes,
Or
yes, yes.
that's the problem. So when you see say something like Ares fighting what do you call him? Helios.
When he fought okay, I thought when he fought Hermes though.
Right, yeah,
That
yeah.
fight was like
Both.
ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
still cool, but like they could do more with this. None of the fight sequences was particularly interesting or thing. It's just a lot of it was just underwhelming. Not bad, Not bad. It's
Yeah,
still looking. It's still thing, but it's like, and not it not roping me. It not engaging as it could have been. Anyway,
right. But this right. So let's get back to the characters, right? So yeah, I felt like okay, like I really dug Seraphim as the antagonist. But yeah, it was the whole Game of Thrones thing. Like they just spent a lot of time on him, just
yeah,
like I mean, who killed my mother and who
yeah,
killed
yeah, yeah,
this?
yeah,
Now I
yeah,
must find the person who killed this, and I must
yeah.
exact my revenge in this like really
Right.
brutal fashion. And blah.
And
And it's almost
yeah,
like, all right, guys, we
and
know, like we understand this is the
I
character,
have
but you give him a bombast, and now you give him like this
right.
overly serious moment
I
of like
felt
violence. Right?
here's the thing with a show like this. I felt if they went with a different pantheon, it would have probably worked. That's the only problem. The problem is that because we already know Greek now, that's the problem. Like in my opinion, that's just that. Like if it was the exact same thing, but it was like the Egyptian pantheon or the Mexican pantheon or something like that, it'll probably work. But because I already know what Hera about and why she think Hera jealous of a mortal woman, okay, and Zeus is a horn dog, all right, and it just went through the same beats that I was accustomed to. That's it, but yeah. So it's that.
Yeah, yeah. But just to close off on that little nitpick, right? The first episode actually opens with some. Well, I forgot what the text says, but essentially say these legends have been passed down through
Right,
time. Some of the some bits of the story have been forgotten. This is a version of this story basically, so
right,
it kind of sets up early on that this is a story that but there's something a little bit different, right? So for me, I didn't really let that bother me that much. So I
right,
imagine if you're like a real Greek mythology nerd, you'll be like, well, no, that didn't happen, and this
right.
thing.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's
Normal
it's
thing.
telling a story. Speaking of story, I thought that it was going to be about Heron.
Right,
I mean, I know the title Blood of Zeus, right? So it's about his sons, right? It's about his bastards. So it's Heron, it's Seraphim. They even touch a
right,
little bit on Hermes at a point in time, and I mean not too much. But I felt that personally there wasn't enough Heron. Like okay,
right,
like like I think the story is going to be about him, but then it'll stop and it'll be about Zeus, and then it'll stop and then it'll be about Seraphim. Then it's about Seraphim again, then it's about Hera, then it's about you know what I mean, just different characters just kind of bouncing back and forth. Understand in terms of world building, like it's not just once again Game of Thrones. Sorry,
right,
it's that in a way it's not just about one character; it's about everyone basically. But even when you think it's about everyone, you have characters like Apollo, and they reveal a little shot about him. But I don't say that they
right,
should kind of explore that more. But I mean, Apollo was dread when he was there. How come they touch on him that much?
right,
Same thing goes with Aries. I mean, it's Aries,
right,
dread. Like he was just there, literally in the background. Why? I didn't understand that. Um, Even the little side characters who Heron confronts later on in the second half, these slaves basically. Like I thought we would have got a little bit more moments with them, but they were just there to just follow Heron on this journey, and that's it basically, right? So yeah, even with its 8 episode run, I felt they could have kind of zeroed in on some more characters. So
right,
on to the good. I thought that the animation, for the most part, was solid. It wasn't
yeah,
amazing, it wasn't mind blowing, but I love how, like, even right now, even the same thing with Castlevania. But I thought you saw it more here. These guys, well, the studio behind this, really harkening back to old school anime. The way how what I mean, the use of shadow, the use of specific colors, and all that kind of stuff to emphasize a mood. You know what I mean? You really, really get that with the show here. This one compared to Castlevania has a more anime feel, you know what I mean, in my opinion. The music which I touched on earlier, I still dug, even though there's a lot of it. And I made a post on Facebook. I said Netflix need to put out a soundtrack for this boy because I mean
yeah, yeah.
Paul Edward Francis who worked on this. I think that he just outdid himself with this score boy. This is masterful. You could complain about how much it's used, you know what I mean? It's revival of actually ironically Man of Steel,
Right,
which had a lot of music in the movie. A lot
right,
of Hans Zimmer when you know what I mean, like even in the dramatic moments, there was just music playing. It's
right.
just like that. But a score needs to be put for this boy because the effort that they went into making the score so epic, boy,
But they make sure you hear
amazing.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They
It's
make sure you hear
all
that shit.
in your
Yeah,
face, boy.
too
It's
much
all in your
in your
face.
face. Yeah,
But it worked in terms of once again the bombast of the show, but last thing I'll say before I get to read it, but in terms of that, you think that the show itself would have had a little bit of fun. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that
Right.
all Greek mythology is based off of fun, but because they harken back to E.T.'s adventure with that music, um, E.T.'s adventure for the most part had some fun
Yeah.
elements in it too. But
No, it had,
this
no, it
one, like
had
you
it.
say, this had this kind of, well, it have a couple of like jokey moments, a little
Well, yeah,
moments, but overall it's just intense, which I get because of the
yeah. No,
nature of the show, but a
it had
little
a couple. It
too
had a couple
self-serious in
little.
my opinion.
Yeah, it had a couple little moments because they make reference to like I thought it was a kind of a blatant reference to Clash of the Titans, with the owl and thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
Bobo,
right.
which I got, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine.
Right.
But
That is it. Yeah.
even the guy who created him, I forgot his name. They even like touch
Ephesus.
right. They even touch on
Yeah.
him. They just kind of mention him a few
Right.
times, and he just there in the background. Like, okay,
Right.
well, you know what I mean. So they kind of brought a little bit of the charm that made those ETs, epic fantasy adventure films worthwhile now. Because I mean, that's where you're going for with the music, right? But
Mhm.
it's Game of Thrones. It's basically that same dark formula that worked with Castlevania. And I guess that's what we could kind of argue about if that dark feel of Castlevania, that sort of nihilistic feel,
No, but
works in Blood of Zeus.
yeah. Nah, that's the thing. It's two different types of aesthetics of the mythology. Right? Castlevania meant to be this kind of dark fantasy stuff, and it's Dracula, so it works. But this is like really, it's supposed to go so dark and serious business for the Greek mythology and the Greek pantheon. You
I
sure?
know, right? Like
Yeah,
you could
whatever.
you could be violent, like
Yeah.
fine. I mean, we've had immortals, we've had stuff. Even oh gosh, forgive me for saying this, like the Clash of Titans remakes and Rat
Oh, yeah.
Titans and all
Those are
that, right?
terrible. Yeah.
Those were terrible, yes, but
Yeah.
like they
Exactly.
they,
Yeah.
they went for that PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
Exactly.
saying, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But like even those had a little bit of like fun in it now. You know what I mean, because of how over the top they were. And I felt that they could have just had a balance with it. Like, all right,
Right.
give you the dark stuff, but also give you a little fun adventure stuff too. You know what I mean? But
Right.
overall, I still love it for what it is, though. I would say if you are a Greek mythology nerd, you probably wouldn't like it. You'll just be nitpicking this thing. But
Right.
if you just want to see something unique, a little bit different as far as anime goes, yeah, I would say check this out, man. This isn't half bad, and I just hope that with the second season, which I hear we're supposed to get, I really hope that they do, fix its errors. Like this is a
Okay.
first season, so it have a little
I
first
don't. I don't
season
know. I thought it
issues,
was.
but
I thought the nature of the story was kind of one off. Like, okay, all right, well, they deal with
well,
the trend. So okay,
true,
I know
true,
we
true,
get.
but
I know we get a second season. All right, no problem.
yeah, well, I suspect. I don't know for sure, but I think it
Okay.
does, especially with the stinger that they have at the end, right? But
Okay.
I
Okay.
do hope that with the second season they kind of figure themselves out. Like you don't have to be Castlevania again, but
Right.
with Greek gods. So
Right.
rating wise, I'll still go for a lighter, decent 3.5 out of 5. Man, it's worth
No
checking
problem.
out. If you have 4 hours roughly to kill, give it a look. It's
Yeah.
actually a little longer. Like each episode is actually longer than your average animated show on Netflix. So just be
Right.
wary of that. And you'll have quite a lot to enjoy. I mean, especially with the visceral action thrills, right? But it does get rather self-serious and dark at times, and you're kind of wondering, well, why? Give me the source material. But I mean, it is what it is. I just hope that if we do get a second season, they just kind of improve on the little, flaws with the season have. But don't let the flaws take you away from watching it. At least check it out. Like I said, it's like 4 hours, and make your judgment from there.
Yeah.
Ricardo, last words to read on Blood Zeus.
Yeah. As I say, I really wish if they could have do this a little more clever, or come up with some more interesting with it. I felt either have your final production be really exciting, which I was not. I was a little bored with a lot of this, or come up with a new take on it. Like if they made this blood of whoever the head guy of say us another um mythology or pantheon was, it would have worked for me.
Hmm.
But because it's Greek and we tell over Greek 10,000 times already, so like already enough. 7 out of 10 still. I mean, it's still reasonably
Fair
well
enough.
made. Yeah, yeah. I didn't hate it or anything like that. It's just I wanted them to just kind of make a bit slightly bigger effort on this one, but it was still good. It's still fine.
Right. Nice, nice, nice.